So, hello and welcome, guys. Welcome to our YouTube channel SLR the Universal. So, today in this video, we are going to talk about the properties in JavaScript. So, let me clarify a little bit here that React is a fun way data binding framework, and the meaning of this terminology is here that you cannot ever send data from child component to parent component. It is only one way. You can only send data from parent component to child component in React. There are some work around here, but they are not that as much as direct as possible. There are some hooks present in React. By utilizing those hook, you can access the data from child component to parent component. That but that thing but that is a little bit more complex and tricky concept. So for now, let's only talk about the props. What are the props? How you can send props from parent component to child component, and how will sending props from parent component to child component will affect the child component, will it render or not. So let's first start with the so let's first create a component. So for the class component, you have to take prop as a parameter in the constructor, and also need to initialize the subclass of this extended app class, and you also have to initialize the parent class of this class component using those prop. Only then you will be able to access the properties using this keyword in React. And here we got the state. We'll talk about state in React in next video, but for this we'll only talk about pros property here. Let's just give it a relevant name here, increase. So we will be rendering our counter component as a child component inside the app component, and we will be passing the count state as a props to the this child count, this counter child component here. and we will provide a button here to increase the value of the count, and we will assign a on click event to this button. So let me give you a little bit introduction what I have done here. So what I have done here is just created a new method using the bind keyword and provided it context, like if you want to access the property of the app context inside this increase count method or decrease count method, like here we are accessing the property this dot set state, it might not be available if you didn't bind the context to this method, because every method in JavaScript has its own context, and if you try to access the this property inside that method, like that particular this will be pointing to the context of that method, like if you didn't bind here this particular this will be pointing to the context of this increase count method. But we want to access this dot set state property of the parent class like react dot component, then we have to bind the context of app class here this, and to access this set state property here. And there is a simple method, there are arrow, but if you don't want to do this, instead of this you can simply just utilize the arrow method in react.js. By utilizing the arrow method you don't have to do this and add this additional line of code in your react code. And let's move toward the point with what we were discussing here. So let's pass the we have passed the props in the counter component, and now let's start our application. And let me rename here. So we got the error here. Let me see what was the error here. Allowed is defined. Okay, there is warning. Count is not defined. Count is not defined. Let me see it here. Count. This dot state. This dot state. Sorry. I'll just have to update this dot count. Okay, so our development server has started, and let's see. We got the current count for counter is 0. I'll decrease the counter. So what are you seeing? I'm just whatever I have. So what are so when I click on this decrease button, the value of the decrease value of a counter is also shown on the screen. And let me now increase the value, and we have passed the count property as a prop to the counter child component here, but it is re-rendering when there is a change in count property here. And let's say here I had used the set state method inside this decrease dot count. So let's say if you don't want to So let's say if you didn't use this dot state method in React, what will be happen? You just directly mutate the property this dot state dot count. What will be the scenario here? So let me count. So now we are going to directly mutate the property. But the update are not visible on the web page on the DOM. Why is it that? Because in React you cannot directly mutate the property if you are not using the this dot set state method in the class component. Then the updated whatever you are making in that particular variable will not be detected by React, due to which update will not be going to shown on UI. And let me show you something interesting here. So let's say I decrease the count here. As you are seeing, the value of that particular count variable is changing, but we are directly mutating that particular variable do and are not using the set state uh, method of React, due to which React is not able to detect whatever changes we are making inside that particular variable, and it is not updating that particular value on the UI. Please remember, in React, if you want that your changes whatever you are making in your state or props should be reflected on UI, you should always use set state method of React, and this is optional. So like if you don't want to make React whatever update you are making in your variable to paint on the UI, then you can skip the process of setting the value of that particular variable using the set state. But if you do want to React to reflect whatever changes you are making in that particular state or variable to reflect on UI, you should definitely use set state in the React class component. In the functional component, there is another uh, there is a hook utilizing which there is a use state hook utilizing which you will get a method, and by calling that particular method you will be able to update state of that particular component in React. So I'm going to uncomment all those changes, and now whatever changes I'll make, it will be always be visible on the UI in React application. And whatever state and property which if you want to pass from parent to child component, you can do it using the props property. And so this is the way how we can pass props from parent component to child component in React. And do remember, you cannot pass props from child component to parent component. It is only one way data binding in React. I am repeating it again so you remember it clearly. React is a one way data binding framework. And if you do want React to reflect whatever changes you are making in your state or props, you should definitely utilize that this dot set state method of class component, or in the functional component there is another used the method which will be written by use state. You can utilize that particular method to set the new property of the that particular variable. Only then React will be able to detect whatever update you have made did for that particular variable, and it will repaint those changes on your uh, web page UI or DOM. So this is it for today's video. It was very short video, but I hope this video was very helpful for you. In next video we're going to talk about state in React.